Alright everybody, good afternoon. This is Steve. Of course, welcome to the Little Wood Shop and our Sunday evening blog. As part of our Sunday evening blog, we told you that we are going to be doing a Vcarve Pro lake contour map tutorial within Vcarve Pro itself. So without further ado, let's get going. Okay, well, what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull in a blank Google page, and we're going to do a Google web search. I have a lake in particular in mind that I'm looking to work with. First Connecticut Lake in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my image tab. Within my image tab, it gives me some basic maps, some basic information here, and pretty much everything that I'm going to need is right here, in fact. Now, there's a couple different maps that we're going to look at going after. One is going to strictly be for reference, okay? And when I look for reference maps, I want the biggest size I can get. Now, this one is 3151 pixels by 2430. Let's just view the image itself. Alrighty. If I click on this and I bring it up, there's a lot of image, there's a lot of detail. However, if I scroll down, I see down at the bottom, copyright 2013, National Geographic Society. Okay, this is not something that I'm going to be using for anything other than reference, all right? The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to also look at any other maps that may display key figures as far as reference again. Alright, now this is one out of BostonKayaker.com. Again, I'm not doing anything with this as far as vectorizing the image, but it clearly displays the boat launches and some other information that I will also cross-reference with this map. Alright, let's close this one out. Now, I can already tell you I have found a map that I was looking to use. It is the one, in fact, that I'm going to use. This is an old black and white. Alright, I will actually pull this up right here. This is the physical map that we are going to trace and walk you through step by step, is how to take this PNG or this raster image. We're going to pull it into Inkscape. We're going to turn it into a vector image, and then we're going to load it into CAD, okay? So why don't we get started with that? Let me X out of this. Let me close out all this. Let me pull up Inkscape. Inkscape, again, as I've told you before, is a free, open source illustration software, much like CorelDRAW or Adobe Illustrator, okay? However, it doesn't come with a hefty price tag, and as I've told all of you before, starting out, we don't have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to go dump into software. Our equipment and our CAD software alone can just about knock us off our feet financially. So we utilize good free programs like this. All right, let me drag that image in. All right. Our image is in place. Let's take and offset it to the side. We're going to come over here to our path function at the top left of the screen on the very top bar. You're going to click on path. You're going to click on trace bitmap. What opens up is this little box right here. Alright, the only thing when we're looking to trace a bitmap image in black and white is our brightness cutoff. It comes stock at 450. I turn my threshold up to 550. I think it produces a little bit of a darker line, which makes it, in my opinion, and these are my opinions only, I feel that it makes it a little bit easier to read in CAD. We're going to click on OK. We're going to close it out. What we're going to do is we're going to come over, we're going to grab it, and we're going to drag that image directly off. We're going to recenter it in the box. Again, if I show you why we do this, We'll bring this one over. We're ultimately going to delete this one, but for the sake of the example, this is why we did what we just did. Now, as we expand this, we can see that the image that we dragged out is our raster image, because it's starting to get choppy, starting to look like a chainsaw blade, okay? However, if we look at the image over here that we just pulled, we can see nice, crisp, clear lines. We do have some scatter and some clutter in here to get rid of, but that's going to be part of the CAD, part of the process in our CAD software. So, let's go in. Let's delete this one. Let me come in. Let me drag the one that we want to keep into the center of our box. The more information, the slower you want to go with it. Again, we have nice, crisp, clear lines. Again, we've got some garbage in here and some clutter we got to clean out, but that's okay. All right, what we'll do is we'll go up, File. We'll end up saving as. And what we'll do is we would save it as a PDF or an EPS. Now, I've already saved this file, so I'm not going to bother doing this. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up a copy of our Vcarve Pro software. Now, I told you these, in my opinion, the bigger you can make them, the more detail you can put into them, the more you can show. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do in Vcarve Pro is I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to max it out. What is the maximum tabletop capacity of my particular machine? Well, that's 36 on the X, 48 on the Y. We're going to say that the material will be 1 inch thick. I always start my Z-axis from the top of my material and not the top of my table. My datum position is always in the middle. Our unit of measurement in the United States is inches. Okay. First thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to take my first Connecticut contour map and I'm going to drag him in, or I'm going to come in and I'm going to import vectors from a file. First Connecticut Lake contour map 2. We're going to open him up. Here he is. Let's go over to transform objects. Align, selected objects, alignment tool. I want him dead center. All right, we're going to close this out. Okay, now that we have our map here centered, one thing I'm going to do is go back into transform objects, and I'm going to make sure my link X and Y is checked, because when I go to adjust the size on this, I want it to be symmetrical. A few occasions I'll uncheck the box, like if I'm just adjusting the height or the width of the font. Well, in this case, I want my image to be symmetrical. I make sure my box is checked. And I'm going to crank my width up to, let's say, 34 inches. It automatically readjusts my height to 41.9 inches. I'm going to click Apply. We then close this out. Now, I'm not going to want to keep all of this. Some of this I'm going to get rid of. Right down here, this chart is not intended as a navigational map. This is one that I am going to delete and get rid of. I think I may keep my scale bar in. I think I may keep this legend right here for the moment. Let me come over to pan view so I can move this around a little quicker. First Connecticut Lake depth contour chart. I like that. This was prepared and published by the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department back in February of 1966. Again, folks, be very careful where you get your imagery and your map sets from. This one did not have a copyright clause on it. The one that I showed you in the beginning of the video is strictly being used for reference purposes only. I don't know where you're going to be able to go and get your maps for your particular state, but Google it, shop around. Hey, there's enough out there where I believe you can find the images that you're looking for, either for free or so reasonable that it isn't worth sticking your neck out there to get in trouble over something that you shouldn't be using. Okay? All right. We're going to come back down to Edit Objects and Selection Mode. I am going to get rid of all of this. Highlight it, delete that. Depth contour chart. I don't even think I'm going to keep that. I'm just going to keep the name. I think I'm going to take Pittsburgh out, and I'm going to move it up here. The other thing we're going to do is I'm going to change the font, because I want this in here, but I don't like this font that's been adjusted. So let's start there if we shall. Let's go to text. We're going to call this first. Okay, let's try this. We're going to apply that. Let's close him out. All right. Let's highlight him. Let's bring him up in. Yeah, that font looks a whole lot nicer than... We're going to come in here, we're going to highlight this, and we're going to delete it. I'm going to highlight this. I'll bring him down. I'm going to put him right here. We're going to come down to transform objects, align selected objects, and I want to align him on the y-axis. Great, he's now in place. So that font is now cleared up. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. I'm going to adjust what says legend. Let's highlight him, and I'm going to actually just pull him completely out of the way. Like I said, I don't know if I want to keep him yet or not. I don't know if I want to keep the scale yet or not. But we're just going to highlight him and move him. All right, now, again, as we look at certain aspects of this map, I can see that most of the detail in here I would be able to keep, no problem. But where to start exactly? Well, exactly where I'm going to start is with the bulk of all the cleanup, all the font, all the letters. I told you there's some rubble in here. You can highlight it, make sure that you are in edit objects, you are in selection mode. Go through, highlight this stuff, get rid of it, you don't want it. I don't know how your maps will clean up, obviously, so it may vary. You may end up buying some digital maps, and you may not have to deal with any of this. Okay, but if you're on a budget and every penny counts, well, you may end up doing some cleanup for a little while until you have the budget to roll on buying nice clean maps or imagery, whatever the case may be. Again, we're just going to go through and we're going to clean up all the clutter and all the rubbish. Alright, now that we've gone in and we cleaned out that big streak of clutter, what's left behind are some of the points that are coming out of our toolpath lines. I don't know exactly what I want to keep, what I don't want to keep, but in the event we don't want any of stuff like this, what we would do is we would come in here, we'll go over to edit objects, we're going to go into node editing. This is as simple as coming in with your nodes are lit up, highlight everything, right click, delete, right click, delete. Same thing up here, we can highlight all these, right click, delete. You can hover over them with your mouse, hit D on your keyboard, that will get rid of them. Alright, you can highlight a bunch of them like this, then you can hit D on your keyboard. I would personally want that one smooth. And basically this is what we're going to do here. We're going to go through and we're going to get rid of all of these that are making some really crazy points and whatnot. I'm going to go through right now. I'm going to get all those cleaned up. Just basically go in under your node editing, highlight it, take out what you don't need for nodes, smooth everything out. Alright, now with all our jagged, pointy toolpaths, we've gone in. Obviously, you can see that we have taken all those out. The next thing I'm going to do is I am looking at all of the outer lying font, okay? This one here, Camp Otter. I want to get an idea as to the height of the font. Just highlight one of the letters. Nothing major here. Come down to Transform Objects. Okay, it's showing that the font is height 1/4 of an inch high. Well, I would probably go a little bit bigger than that. So let's go into our text. And let's go up here. Let's go Camp. Enter Otter. Alright, now under my text height, I want to go 0.375, let's say. We can close this out. Let's grab this font. We're now at 3/8. I like that a whole lot better. Let's highlight this one. Let's delete it. And now let's bring this one right back down into here. Drop him. Okay, now in this case, we can see where the word Glenn has run into a toolpath. We're going to come over to Edit Objects. We're going to hit Node Editing. Alrighty. Let's come in here where we can see everything. Let's right click and we're going to delete the span. Up here, same thing again. Right click, delete span. Highlight your nodes. Come down to Edit Objects. Close vectors with a smooth curve. Kapow, that's that one. Okay, this is called the Glen. We're going to try to do whatever we can here to keep everything as close to exact. Let's go back to Draw Text and the Glen. Click Apply. Close them out. And again, I'm just using whatever font's popping up at the moment. Don't think that I am dedicated to any one thing here. For the sake of the example, whatever this font is works. Edit Objects. Let's highlight all this. Let's delete him. Click on the Glen. Move him down. Great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go around and we're going to do this for the rest of these areas. Okay? Courier Camp. Now when we get up to some of these are actually drawn on the curve. We'll get to that in just a minute. But for the moment, what we're going to do, we're going to go around. We're going to change Dam, Courier Camp. And we're going to go out and any font that isn't wrapped, we're going to adjust right now. Alright, now we've gone through and we have recorrected all of the font. Camp Otter, the Glen, Courier Camp, the Dam. We told you. Now we're going to work on our word wrap. Alrighty. We're going to go up here. We're going to start with Connecticut River. Alright. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to come in here because as I zoom in, I can see that my letter C is attached into the actual outer toolpath. Same thing up here with Coon Brook. The O, the K, the R. This is all incorporated in. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in. We're going to click on Edit Objects, Selection Mode. I am going to either take and delete this stuff right off. Oh, went a little too far. Nice thing is, you make a mistake, you can hit your undo. It's not the end of the world. Okay, now here we are. The C is lit up within the toolpath. We're going to come down to Edit Objects in Node Editing. And again, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to delete that span. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to insert a point, and then I'm going to right click, delete that span. Highlight everything up here. Just hit your delete key. We come back in. While we are still in Edit Objects, Node Editing, highlight him. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to close vectors with a smooth curve. Great. Alright, now, what we're going to do, and this is going to be applicable throughout the rest of this. I'll show you this one and then one more, and then we'll move on. Alright, we're going to come into draw a line, Polyline. Okay, I do have the right one. We're going to come in right here. I'm going to start from about here. I'm going to hover down and along this curve. Try to stay an even distance off this line if possible. Right out to the end. Alright, good. Your dotted line is in. You're going to go up to text. You're going to draw text. And we're going to go CONN period space RIVER for Connecticut River. We're going to click apply. Let's close this out. Alright, there's our Connecticut River. Let's drag him up to the initial area where we're going to need him. Let's zoom in on that. We're going to come down here and we're going to go to wrap text along a curve. Hold down your shift key. Highlight this line that we just put in. Click apply. Literally that simple, folks, okay? Let's zoom back in. We can close this one out. Let's highlight that line that we just drew. Let's hit delete. There you have it. You may want to put a little spacing in between your two letter ends so that they don't run. We can do that by... Oh, no, we don't want to do that. All right, the way to space these out. Right now, we're all bound together. Let's take and convert objects to curves. Basically, it just ungrouped everything. Let's highlight them. Let's zoom in. Highlight them all. Double click on them. Let's move him over just a titch. Same thing again. Highlight them. Move them over just a titch. Last one. Move him over again just a titch. So now we have some good spacing there. Now, let's highlight all of them one last time. Hold down the shift key. Highlight the period. Highlight all of the river. Double click on them. I'm going to raise him up just a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to group, selected objects, great. Now when we go to click back on them again, everything's lit up. Alright, pretty simple. What we're also going to do is one last example. We'll show you up here. Now because we have Connecticut Brook, Coon Brook, it is really broken up into a lot of this. So let's come into edit objects. Node editing. Let's zoom in on this O. I'm going to right click. I'm going to delete that span. I'm going to right click. I'm going to delete that span. With this lit up, just hit delete. Highlight this again. Come down to edit objects. We're going to close vectors with a smooth curve. There we go. Let's come down. Let's also look at highlighting up this, the bottom of our R. Just hit delete. Let's come in here. While we are still in edit objects, node editing. Alright, we're going to right click. We're going to delete this span. We're going to come in here. Oh, let's see. We're going to right click. And we're going to delete this span. All of this we can get rid of. So we can delete it, click it, delete it, click it, delete it. Or you can come up to edit objects, selection mode, highlight everything, and then hit delete. Again, just dump him. highlight them and dump them. Now we got to connect our point from here to here. We're going to come back into node editing. I am going to come down to join vectors with a smooth curve. Now that's a little too far out for what I want. Let's swing him down. That I can live with. Okay, now again, we want to put Coon Brook along the curve. So let's zoom him in. Let's come up to draw a line. We'll go here, we'll go here. Each time you click, you're locking the node into a another stopping point. Alrighty. And then then after you're done left clicking where you want all your points to be, when you're done, you get to the last one, right click on your mouse. We want to come into text. Again, we want to put in, except this time I want to spell Brook out. I'm going to click apply and close. Let's zoom out. Here's Coon Brook. Let's highlight him. Let's drag him up in. Let's zoom out. Again, let's drag him up in. Alright, now with our Coon Brook where we want it, let's come in and let's click on wrap text along a curve. Let's come down, let's highlight the curve that we put in, click on apply. Now with Coon Brook placed where we want it, we can see that obviously we've got things too close. We have the letter B running over on top of the R, the C's running over into the O. Let's come in here and let's convert objects to curves. Basically it ungroups everything. So now we can go in, we can highlight just the C, we can roll him out. We can come over here, we can highlight the letter O, we can pull him out. We can take, let's see, we can also take the letter K and O here. We can move it down just a little. We can move the letter O here down just a little. Basically all we're going to do is little by little we're going to work these and manipulate them to where we want them, not where they want to be. And that looks a whole lot better. Again, come back down into edit object selection mode, highlight your line underneath, hit delete. So now it looks like a more smoother natural transition. Now what we're going to do before we get into the cutting tool pass and everything else, we're going to go around and we're going to do this to the rest of these. I'm not going to make you sit through all of them. I think the two examples give you a pretty good idea as to how to do them, okay? So what we'll do is I will go through right now. I will get these all redone, and we'll be right back. Alright, now we've gone through and we have changed all the font over to nice clean font. I will say that I did take and I increased the first Connecticut Lake, Pittsburgh, New Hampshire from 1 inch in font height to 1 1/4. I think it's going to add a little bit more appearance-wise for the better to this piece. Now, last thing that's left prior to going in and figuring out our pockets for the center of our lake is in fact our compass. Now this is just a magnetic north needle. In the blog itself I told you I really like a compass rose. Let's drag one in. Okay, and I wanted to also show you another handy little thing that I had found. In the event you want to convert some of your own imagery over, we're going to bring in a website here real quick. This is called Luna Pick. Let's say we want to upload an image. Alright, we go down to more upload options. We're going to choose the file, and for the sake of this one, let's just use the compass rose right here. Now we're going to include some of these compasses. I'm not going to bother giving you the Lake Francis map. It's only good for you in the event you live in New Hampshire. Let's open this compass rose up. All right. Currently its size is 1186 by 1779. Let's upload now. Here it is. Now what I ultimately want to do here is I want to go in and I want to change the color to black and white. And now I can come down here and we can save image in one of many formats, okay? Again, this is a very nice, friendly to use website, lunapic.com. I've used this off and on. It does make converting images from color to black and white a lot easier. I'm lazy some days, what can I say? You can save it as a PDF, JPEG, PNG. You know, there's a multitude of different formats you can save this to, okay? I thought that'd be handy for you to know. Alright, now that we've got all the font corrected around the brooks, the rivers, some of the highlightable points here, Camp Otter, the Glen, things of that nature. Last thing we're going to focus on is our little compass. This is a magnetic north arrow. However, I told you I like a compass rose, which basically gives north, south, east, and west. So we're going to take and we're going to drag that in right now. All right. We're going to pull him over. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to get rid of, let's get rid of him. Oh, don't want to lose our W though. We're going to delete the old magnetic compass out. Let's pull him up. Let's drag him over. Why, I don't exactly know. But we're going to take and replace this with an E for east. And to simply do that, we're going to merely, under selection mode of edit objects, we're going to highlight it, hit delete. We're going to go up to text. And I'm looking for, something here that's going to fit the bill. I think that'll look pretty good. Let's try an E. Click apply. Let's get our E up here. Alright, that doesn't look like it's bad font. Alright. So now we've got in our updated First Connecticut Lake, Pittsburgh, New Hampshire. We've got our new compass rose in. We've got all our font done. All right, let's start doing the breakdown in the center of our map as to what we do and do not want to keep. Now, the first thing I'm not interested in is all of the different depths. If it was something critical, yeah, maybe I'd keep them, but you know, maybe for a couple of depths we might, but for the most part, we don't need to know every single drop off and every piece of depth on this map, okay? So we're going to go through right now, and I'm going to basically delete those by going into Edit Object Selection Mode. Literally as simple as just highlight them, delete them. All right, now that we've gone through, we've taken out all the different depths. We can highlight certain areas of our map here. Let me go into pan and we can zoom in. The one thing that we do want to keep in mind with some of this project here is you want to throw a measurement every now and then. Throw a little measurement and just take a peek at what you have for space. Now from there to there, I'm showing 100 and 96 thousandths. So we're not even really a quarter of an inch from the edge. Other areas, I can tell you that we are a lot closer, depending upon where we come in. Up in here, we're obviously way too close. So certain lines we're going to have to do away with. Others we're going to have to run into others. And all right, let's get going with that, and we'll show you right now basically how we would handle this. All right, I'm going to come in, and I am going to go back into selection mode. I'm going to highlight different things, and I'm going to look. I know that right in here, this is all going to be way too close. So I basically want to come in. I want to go to Edit Objects. I want to go into Node Editing. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to delete this span. Right-click. I'm going to delete this span. You can highlight him. Just hit delete. And then over here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to delete this span. Now, where does he go? He only goes up as high as here. So let's delete all of him. Great. Now, I am going to come back in over here. And I'm looking at this run right now from up here to down here. I'm going to basically tie this contour line up into this one. So I'm going to right click here. I'm going to delete this span. And this one down here, I want to tie in this one down a little bit lower. So I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to delete this span. Then I'm just going to delete all of this. What I want to do now is I'm going to come up here to this particular line. I'm going to pull him down just a wee bit further. I'm going to come down to Edit Objects in Selection Mode. I'm going to highlight one, I'm going to highlight the other, holding down the Shift key, and I'm going to close vectors with a smooth curve. That was not what I wanted to do. Let's try it this way. Selection mode. Let's highlight these two. Again, join with a smooth vector. Okay, everything's now closed off. However, this does not look natural at all. Let's go back into selection mode. Right click, delete. Okay, he is a smooth point. I'm going to pull this node down. It just comes down to a lot of time consuming, a lot of manipulation, a lot of working your nodes. You know, this is where, you know, you need to also pay attention and bill accordingly to your time. You know, those contour lines look a little bit more realistic. Now what I'm going to do is, even up here, we need to connect these. Alright, now ultimately what we've done is we're going to highlight this real quick, and we've basically pieced together a very small outer contour line. Like I said, we're not going to be taking and we're not going to use every single contour line in here. When I go to do my lake contour maps like this, I am going to take a Vcarve bit. I'm going to do my outer border to signify basically the outer contour lines of a specific map or lake in this case. And from there, I'm only going to go and I'm only going to pocket out 3 to 5 depths, depending upon, again, and it's going to come back to what is the size of your piece of equipment, what's the table size. The bigger of an area that you have, the more detail you can put in. Maybe you've only got a 2x2 top. Well, with a 2x2 top, you may not get 5 pockets on that lake. It may look so out of sorts that if you go and you try to go multiple layers down, it may not look right, okay? We're going to continue to go about. My next step from here is I need to highlight this one. I need to connect it. Again, I'm not going to connect this line here with this one over here because it runs too close to this edge. We're going to keep this little island right here. There's also an island down here. Again, do not be the least bit afraid to use any type of reference, although we told you this is not, this may not be something that we can take and render because it is a copyright image. However, we can use this as reference material. And I will always say with any of you, certainly try to have as much reference material available as you can get your hands on, so that you can double check where everything is, okay? All right. What I'm going to do is I am going to continue on a few more tool paths in here where I think I want these contour lines to go. I won't make you sit through all of it. We'll be back in just a minute. The video is getting pretty long, so as always, I'm trying to keep it down, but I feel there's a lot to undertake in these maps, so I'm trying not to leave anything out. All right. All right. Now, as we're going, and I'm basically constructing, the outer is all done. We can see that we have a full wrap all the way around. That's where all of our clean font is, naming the brooks, where some of the specific camps are, and things that are worth noting on your particular map. What we do is we start with our first inner contour line. Now, I've got plenty of room over in here, but as we get into some of our pockets, like these right here, I can see that I have a group of contour lines in here that what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up connecting this one to this one. I am most likely going to do away with this one here. We'll clean this up in here a little bit. And to clean this up, we'll just go in. We're going to get rid of some of our nodes real quick. I want to keep as much away from this edge as possible. Alright, even this one down here, let's delete. I want to move this point up. Reason being is when I start cutting my pockets, I don't want any of this stuff on top of anything else. I told you that we are in fact going to take this line right here is going to come out. We can highlight our nodes, delete them. We can hover over them. Hit D on your keyboard. Get rid of that line altogether. And then from here to here, close vectors with a smooth curve. Straighten him out here just a little. All right. I've got a little indentation here. Alrighty, there we go. We're going to connect these two. I'm going to connect this one up here. I'm going to look at where this one is traveling to. This is one of the closer ones. I don't need him. Delete him. I want as much space for my first pocket inside off of this outer tool path as much as possible. I don't want to have to try to perform a pocket on top of a pocket on top of a pocket, which you'll see a little more in detail in a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go around, I'm going to connect more of these lines up. I'm going to get rid of more cabbage in here that I feel I don't need. I don't know precisely how many pockets that we're going to end up with in this, but we'll work around that as we go. I got to make sure though that I do in fact leave plenty of space for everything. All right. All right, we've gone around. We have now got our first pocket completely. Well, we've got the tool path all connected. All the nodes are now connected to the other nodes so that we have a complete track all the way around, much like the outside. I told you in some cases I will take some measurements here. I may have to move this over a little bit. I don't know yet. We're going to make our second pocket. And as I do this, I'm going to be looking at probably attaching this one, this one, this one. Whatever you don't need, just go in, delete it, and get rid of it. This is the one we just completed. This here may seem to be a little close. I don't know. I may very well leave it though. At the very least, I may get rid of this one. Let's delete that, see what it looks like. Get rid of any little garbage. And basically that's what you're going to do. You're going to go around. You're going to keep reattaching through node editing. And we're going to attach each piece to each piece. When we have that done, and like I said, again, I don't know what map you're going to be using, how much detail you want, what size piece of equipment you have. But all in all, what we show you here today is going to be applicable. As you scale down, though, higher detail is going to become a problem, all right? Just something to keep in mind. Now, I'm going to go back through. I'm going to get the rest of the tool paths lined up, and then we're going to get ready to physically start cutting and rendering tool paths so we can get our job milled, okay? All right, well, we've now got pretty much all of the contour lines in here that I'm going to choose to keep for this particular project, okay? Let's zoom in and let's take a peek at everything that we've done. Okay, now the funky thing is here, I don't need these to be double wide. The only one that I want double wide is my outside two lines, okay? No more, no less. I don't need to basically have dual lines on the interior of this job. So let's come down here to selection mode. Now the one thing that I do want to do is, because I want to keep myself as far away from the edge as humanly possible, I am going to take this innermost line right here. I'm going to click delete. We have that one outermost. Same thing here. Again, I'm going to click the outermost one. I'm going to delete it. Let's come up again. The outermost one, we're going to click delete. Same thing again, outermost one. I'm going to click delete. We're going to pretty much keep everything else. Now, let's start our tool pass. Let's get this cut and get ready to get it completed up here. All right. First thing we're going to do, let's delete this. We're going to start fresh. I'm going to do all the font. So I'm going to start with my Vcarve. My depth, we'll start it out at we'll start out all the font at say 40 thousandths. We're going to do first Connecticut. We'll click calculate. All right. I am going to make sure that it's black. Close. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do all the font that is around the entire map. And because the font is not as big, we may not have to mill as far. I'm going to start that out at around 30. And this will be, we'll just call it font. Is there anything else that I'm missing? Okay, island, I will go in and redo that in just a moment. And again, highlight him, Camp Otter, Round Pond, the Glen, Courier Camp, Dam, Connecticut River. Alright, we're going to hit calculate. And we're going to make sure that all of those are black. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come in here, and I just told you that I wanted to ISLAND. Alright, let's do away with all of this. Let's come down to our text. One, I can already tell you the font's off, so we're going to come back into text. And we use Hobo Standard. Alright. My font, though, is a little bit bigger than I want, so we're going to go, let's try it at this height. Alright. Now, what we'll do here is our next toolpath is going to be this outer border. We're going to start it out at, say, 35 thousandths. We can always go deeper. But let's highlight him. Let's hold down our Shift key. We want to highlight island. What this is going to do is this is a 2.5. We're going to call this outer border. Let's hit calculate. Now is where we get into the fun stuff. Alright, now with each one of these pockets, we're going to want to take, and you're going to want to set aside a pen and a paper. So I should probably follow my own advice. Depending upon your material thickness is obviously going to depend on how many pockets and how deep each one can be. Now we're an inch thick, and I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got 4 pockets. So let's say I'm going to do each one of my pockets on an inch. I'll do each one at, say, 90 to 125 thousandths. We're going to come in, and we're going to do our first pocket. We're going to select our pocketing toolpath. I'm going to click here. Alright, now, because we are doing our first pocket, there is one of two ways in which to do this. One, we can keep track of each cut, and we can add the cut depth from the previous track to the next pocket, or we can go in at our start depth and we can make adjustments there. Well, the first pocket, we know that our start depth is going to be 0. So we can see we've got it highlighted. We're already set at 90 thousandths. For an end mill, granted this is big, undoubtedly I could use a 1/4 inch as well. What I'm going to do here is we're also going to show advanced toolpaths. What I'm going to select here to clean up my edges will be my 60-degree 1/4 inch V-bit. Set your spindle speeds, your feed rates to your piece of equipment. And my large area clearance tool, well, let's see what it looks like with the 1/2 inch end mill. Again, set your spindle speed and your feed rate to your particular piece of equipment. Pocket 1, and we're going to hit calculate. Alright, now what we can see here is that our end mill went in, it did our first pocket. We can see on the little corners and the tips that our 60-degree V-bit went in and cleaned out any of the little extras. Let's assign that a color as well. So right here, we're going to assign these colors. We're going to start out with a light blue. Same thing here. A light blue. Alright, now we're going to come back in. Uncheck both of these. We're going to come back up for pocket number 2. Down here it says pocket 2. And we're going to come inside of here. Now, we can either do a cut depth here of 180. Oh, I'm sorry. That would need to be like that. Or you can keep this at 90 thousandths, and up here you can do your start depth at 90 thousandths. You're telling the machine that you've already done this. You still want to maintain a depth of this. However, you're telling it for the secondary pocket to already figure in, because inside of this one pocket you've already milled out everything. We're looking at the second pocket. So let's do that. We're going to assign this one a color. We'll come up 1 and we'll go here. Same thing here. Alrighty, same thing again. We're going to come back. We're going to click on him. We need pocket 3. Now that we know that we've already come down 90 thousandths twice, let's tell the computer that our starting depth is 180 thousandths. We still only want to go 90 thousandths down for this one particular pocket. Let's calculate. What we're going to do is we're going to go in, we're going to give another color. We're going to come here, same thing again, assign it another color. Alrighty. Last but not least, last thing we're going to do is we're going to do this one little pocket right here. We're going to come in, we're going to set up our 4th pocket. Now, depending upon the size of this one pocket, you may want to come over here to transform objects. We're saying that it's 3.285 inches, so it's almost 3 7/8 high, but it's 0.586 wide. So that 1/2 inch end mill, you may want to swap it out depending upon the size. You may want to swap that out to a 1/4. I'll leave the 1/2 in there and I'll take a peek at it. Okay. Oh, but we can already see that we've made a mistake up here. We did not figure out our 3 other passes. So I know that I need to come down 270 thousandths, and then we'll be able to drop in to our 90. Again, I'm going to come in right here to pocket 4. Okay, now when I go, and I'll show you this real quick, when we go in and we want to use a large area clearance tool that is too big for the area, we're still going to use that same 1/2 inch end mill with that 60-degree V-bit to clean up any sharp area. It tells us that the carving tool is too large to fit into that flat area. So what we need to do, let me right click and let's delete that toolpath function. Let's come back down. Let's come up here. And the one thing we may have to do for that last pocket is either make it bigger or come in and select the smaller end mill, which is the 1/4 inch. We're still going to use the 60-degree V-bit to clean up the sharp pointy edges. But as far as routing out that pocket, we'll downsize to the 1/4 inch end mill. Pow! It worked with no problem. Let's come in here. We're now going to put in the last of the colors. We're going to reset and let's preview everything that we can here. Alrighty, and obviously I got a couple of my colors confused, but that is no big deal. Okay, now my one center pocket, just to make sure that I didn't louse anything up, I'll throw some white on it. Okay, it's not showing that, so I need to go back. My first one was at 90. My second one, we put the offset in, the start depth of 90 with another depth of 90. My third one, we did it 180 with a depth of 90 thousandths. And then my last one, yep, that's where I forgot to make the adjustment. So that's on me. We calculate. And let's drop the white in here. Drop in the white. And let's preview all our toolpaths again. Now you can mix and match your colors however you would like. This is about as basic of a contour map that I can show you. Now you're going to also, you're going to get some different shades of blue here. I think that the darker belongs down on the bottom. The lighter blue belongs at the top, because obviously if you're in 5 feet of water, chances are you're going to see your toes, but if you're in 50 feet of water, you're not going to see the bottom, okay? Deeper you go, the darker the colors. Let me try to highlight him with whatever the darkest color is here that we can find. All right. So there we are. We have our border. We have our markups. This area in here, I would personally go in and fix myself because I do not like it. I would come into under Edit Objects. I would do some node editing here. I would pull in my nodes. All right, there's my border. Let's calculate that again. I just go back and forth, back and forth. When I've closed up the gap the way I want it, and everything looks according, you know, you may not even want to take and put in this deepest pocket right here. Let's completely let's just delete him. All right, that to me is a pretty nice, pretty complete map. Depending upon the material you put it on. Again, as I had told you, I'm not even worried about that little outcropping there. If you want to put the legend in, that would be entirely up to you. In this case, there's not really a lot of attributes here. You could make note of where the boat launches are if you wanted. All right, well, I think that will about do it. What I will do is we'll put you guys, and you ladies as well, we'll put you in a folder that will display our compass. Oh my goodness, speaking of which, we never put our compass in. Our compass rows, excuse me. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you a folder with some different compasses to go in and utilize and do all that good stuff with, all right? All right, so we have our compass. I didn't bother putting the legend in any more than I bothered putting the scale bar in. The scale bar could be done easy enough. This piece of material could probably be shrunk down. The lake could be pulled up a little bit, and we could shorten it. But for the sake of the example, I hope this helped all of you. If ever, as always, there are ever any questions, please do not hesitate. Give us a shout here, steve@littlewoodshop.com. I'll gladly answer any questions, and if there was anything unclear in this video, by all means let me know, all right? And I will clear up any questions or any problems that may arise for you, all right? All right, everybody. Well, as always, thank you for your support. Thank you for following and subscribing to us. And stay tuned because we've got more to come. All right, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend with you and yours. Take care and enjoy your upcoming week. Bye-bye.